How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of East Asia Soft, welcome to today's stream. Today is Sunday, which means that it's time for me to continue my playthrough of The Letter, out now physically on Nintendo Switch through East Asia Soft. Right now, copies are starting to ship out. So if you want a copy of this game physically, head over to Play Asia and buy a copy. And yeah, so I might sound different than usual. This is the new usual, though, because this is a brand new microphone. Over the weekend, I built a brand new gaming PC. It's super powerful and super quiet, and I figured while I was upgrading my PC, I may as well upgrade the rest of my equipment as well. So I went ahead and got this brand new microphone. This is the Shure SM7B, one of the best mics available for content creators for the price. I also have a 4K capture card, a bunch of other cool stuff to help upgrade the ability for me to stream to you guys. And in about a month, I will also have a green screen setup as well, so you'll no longer have to see my cluttered background. Right now, I am starting the process of moving house, so just bear with me. If we get glitches today, I could totally blame my upgrades and my equipment and all that. Anyway, let's just go ahead and move my webcam up here and continue with our game. We had just finished watching Zach's Path, and now we're about to start watching Roseanne's. 7:15 p.m. The numbers are so little on the top of my screen, and they glare at me with such intensity that I can hear their accusations. I'm late for a night out with the girls, yes, but I have a perfectly good excuse. Jeez. Considering I didn't follow typical office hours, they really can't expect me to be able to just go as I please at 5:30 on the dot. The client is first and foremost my priority. I have to sit tight when my personal assistant Chris tells me we have a big one coming up and I shouldn't miss this one out. Hi Super Happy Fun, how are you doing? I hope that my mic sounds good. I hope that it's mixed properly. Luckily, I can mix it on the fly. You can hear me fading out and coming back in. I have the Go XLR mini mixer, so that should make everything a whole lot easier. Hopefully I sound good right now, though. He knows a lot more on the who's who and the what's what when it comes to these socialites, and I trust that judgment call. I really don't have time for rich people, their drama, and their politics. These sort who were born with silver spoons in their mouths, who were used to wagging their silver tongues about. Sounds awesome? Well, I'm glad to hear that. I've literally only heard myself talk once in this thing. I literally got the cable to hook up the mic like 5 minutes before I started the stream. So I hooked up the mic, did a quick sound test to make sure that I sound good, and just went with it. So I have no idea if I sound good or not. I trust you, Super Happy Fun. I trust you. I let him handle the negotiating with them for the most part. Why else would I have hired him? But he told me he'd received a message about it an hour ago.
Now, if only he has the full shilling when it comes to the time.
Come on, I have a social life too, you know. To an extent. Is this horror, romance? Well, it's not romance. It's kind of horror, but it's horror in the sense of like classic Universal Monsters horror, like Dracula from 1931, stuff like that. There's no gore, there's no blood, there's no jump scares. It's just, it's not even psychological horror. It doesn't dig under your skin. It's a very, very tame, classic kind of horror. The kind that won't give you nightmares tonight. Does that make sense? All I know is that I am really enjoying it. Pressing my head against the table, I try to stave off an oncoming headache when the notification for a new email pops up. All I'm expecting is a, hey, this looks like a good project I found, go send them a design or something like that, really. That's how it often goes. Even with these rich, jammy clients who've heard of me from their equally rich, jammy friends, I can't expect them to hire me right off the bat. Which is all well and good and reasonable. We figure out what they want, send them my portfolio, my drafts for their projects, my rates, and hope for the best. This is a big client, Marianne. I'll babysit Beruthiel for you. Just please take this one project. I promise this person is huge in Luxborn. Mr. Parker, This is a formal request to secure the services of Mary Ann McCullough, hereinafter called the designer, as authorized by Hannah Wright, hereinafter called the client, for interior design work at Ermengarde Mansion, Luxbourne, LX18 0RF, United Kingdom. The client hopes to have the designer there on 21st of October, Friday, with the time pending. What day is the 21st of October this year? Just out of curiosity. That's a Friday this year. It'll be Friday, the 21st of October in 2022. How about that? But as I open the mail and see that I've requested by the client specifically, well, I certainly didn't expect that. And it's pretty straightforward, too. Anyone else would probably be excited. They would be working with the Hannah Wright. She's just one of those rich socialites that everyone loves to talk about, no matter how hard I try to tune out such nonsense. It would have been enough for me to reply an affirmative to Chris and leave, but he has never pleaded for me to take a project before. We've worked with big personalities in the past, celebrities, bankers, even a few politicians. My PA had been indifferent about those. So the question bounced around in my skull before I spy one of the email attachments. A newspaper clipping from the Luxbourne Daily's business news section, boasting the headline, Wright Enterprises donates £2.5 million to refuge. It certainly caused quite a stir back then. Apparently, they had invited businessmen and socialites everywhere in the guise of it being some big business announcement.
2.5 mil and an expensive-looking party to boot. These people sure know how to throw their money around.
Not that I should be so callous. They're going to do a lot of good and help a community of people with all those pounds. I, of all people, shouldn't criticize such acts, whether they were for show or not. At the very least, I know they'll be able to pay my rates. With the headline out of the way, however, I find myself staring at the picture that came along with the clipping. Because, wow. Here I am, expecting a sour old woman in a blazer and skirt. But the woman that was plastered on the front page looked like she belongs on the front page of the entertainment section, or even, if I am to be crass, as the pinup for a Glamour. Okay, I'll be real here, a men's magazine. She sure knows how to rock that dress. Wait. Her hair, her eyes, her lips. She can't be her. And at the same time, she is her, only several years older. She looks just like... No, come on, Mac. The world is full of pretty blondes. Good night, everybody. It's just a coincidence. With a shake of my head, I snap out of it and reach for my phone when it buzzes, nearly falling out my chair in the process. Who else would be on the other line but the very people waiting for me?
Oh, piss. I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm on my way.
That's what I say. Yet, I still don't move from my chair, face flushed and heart racing. I could only stare until I can will myself to reply that, yes, I'm accepting the assignment. And it takes even more time for me to just close the image, shut down the computer, and leave. Even then, it has already burned its image into my head, no matter how much I wish it would just disappear. It makes me eager for the alcohol and the company. It makes me eager for anything that can help me forget. It's a good thing that the nearest pub is just a hop, ski, and a jump from here. The Galway Shawl, as it is called by those who frequent the place, is the only decent Irish pub in this county. You can pretty much tell that someone is new if they call it by its official name, the Crawl Bar. My home away from home, ever since I've moved to Luxbourne. Well, that is when I'm not cooped up in my condo and working away. It has good alcohol, good company, and thank God in St. Cecilia, good music. Crowd favorites like the Bothy Noise, the High Wesleyan Men, and Second Fusion Orchestra are often played. Not to mention the singing. I love singing. Anyone could just break out into a drinking song, and the others in the pub were just wonderful that they'd start singing along. And doing so while intoxicated is the best of ways to go about it. Yeah. Hey, it's a win-win as long as I don't puke in the middle of the chorus, and as long as I can get home in one piece at the end of the day. And tonight is karaoke night. What better time than to try and sing all my worries away? That's what my intoxicated brain tells me.
The ghost of guilt and sorrow remembers who I am.
Interesting visual.
And in the prison of my heart, I was my only slave.
She has a good singing voice. But drinking only reminds me of my home. And the thought of home makes me think of her.
But in the depths of my cold soul, I'll leave the burden and despair.
It makes me nauseous. It sickens me that the smallest reminder of her can cause me such grief.
I'll fight for what's worth fighting for. Forget the fear, forget the rest.
She really does have a good singing voice. That's actually really good. Of course, that might just be the booze. Any other day, I would have scoffed myself for drinking so much.
I lied to the Lord, I lied to myself, I lied to you and everyone I care, until there were no more lies to tell.
But I already have a client and we'll be meeting our first little meet and greet in a few days.
Cowardice is easier than being brave, but at last I found the strength I lost to sing my love letter to you. 'Cause people can lie, but my lone heart beats true.
I want to at least enjoy this night, get over the hangover tomorrow, and return to being a prim and proper professional after.
That song was for Cam, our lucky bride-to-be. So give her hand, Galway shawl.
Considering the state I'm in, one can excuse my smug grin as cheers and applause rise among the pub's patrons. Because, possibly off-key public singing aside, I feel like I'm on top of the world right now, and that's a good reason as any to belt out in front of these strangers. With good drinks and good friends, there's nowhere else I'd rather be tonight. And I forget for a short while.
And that song was brought to you by Marianne McCullough, everyone! A round of applause!
That was so good. You rock, Marianne.
Oh, please stop. You're just saying that.
You know neither of us can hold a tune, Marianne. A toast to our shameless drunk singer. May your drinks forever flow and your notes be ever lovely.
If anyone deserves a toast tonight, that's Cam. Finally sealed the deal after 3 years, eh?
Read 'em and wait, bitches.
Kamala's diamond engagement ring gleams as she holds it up for all the world to see. She has reasons to be proud. 3 years of living together and her boyfriend finally asked her the big question. Obviously, she said yes.
Don't get too attached to that ring or the one after, sweetie. I was wearing a wedding ring not so long ago and look at where I am. But enough of me being a downer. Cheers to a happy engagement!
Of course, if something like Haruna's divorce were to happen, I'd be there for Cam. Just as Cam had been there for me, acting more than just my yoga instructor. I can't be happier for my friend right now.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Well, we both will be there for Cam, won't we? Haruna and I. Haruna. It's been a real bad year for her since her divorce. She's such a nice person, even loaning me money to open a studio, and she didn't deserve what her husband had pulled. I'm happy she's smiling again and pigging out like she used to. I think we've all missed our Japanese firecracker. We met in yoga class, something I had joined to keep myself in shape and, well, honestly, so I could make more friends when I moved to Luxborn. Clearly, it worked like a charm. And it definitely didn't have anything to do with the fact that I brought along my lucky D20 die with me on the first day, no sir. I love these girls so much.
What about you, Marianne? You're 30 years old and you still haven't got yourself a man.
And you guys know I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for that.
Oh, come on. That's a lame excuse and you know it. You need a man who'll take care of you and you need it now. Maybe some hunk who'll be your house hubby while you rake in the dough.
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. Who needs a Mr. Right?
Hey, look at me. I'm Marian McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma, but I can't get myself a date.
Oh, that's oddly specific. I mentioned druids and demons once. Once! They don't even know the rules or understand what the numbers mean. And I certainly am not some sort of holy person. I am a far cry from a miracle worker. And I barely have the willpower to fight off demons. Especially my own.
Actually, maybe she isn't looking for a Mr. Right, but a Mrs. Right. Oh, my Marianne, we still love you even if you're in the closet.
That would explain some things. Haruna, you don't have a ring anymore. Maybe you two can be together and I don't have to worry about my best girls being alone.
What are you on about? There's nothing to explain.
But the more I deny, the louder they tease, until the other people in the pub start to watch. It doesn't help at all when Haruna drapes her arm over my shoulders and leans in.
Will I be all yours then? Will you be making me feel like a woman?
Good night, everybody. I know they're just kidding around, but this doesn't make me comfortable in the slightest. So, when Kamala notices my silence and Haruna sees the expression on my face, they stop. And when the awkward air settles over us, the rest of the pub goes back to whatever they were doing before the whole thing ever happened. They probably won't even remember it when they wake up with massive hangovers anyway.
Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, no hard feelings, right?
I raise my glass. They smile. We drink. There's no need to say more. We're all definitely far too drunk tonight. Eventually, the fun times end. It is a weekday, after all. And with Haruna being a nurse, she still has to get ready for her next shift. Cam also has a loving fiance waiting for her at home. Really didn't have to make a fuss about having left some buns in the oven when she took off early. Really, I understand. I was the one who insisted, who was determined to get pissed drunk anyway. Moving to the bar, I sit. Alone at last. Alone with a stranger. I haven't seen him here before, obviously not a regular. He hasn't said a word, just sits there, savoring his drink. With his whiskey served neatly in one hand and lighter in the other, he doesn't seem like he's noticed me yet. And maybe I should go before he does look my way. Because he was pretty, and he was blonde, and those two things plus alcohol never did me any good. A thought too late. Judging by the way his flushed face and the dazed look in his eyes, he's as piss drunk as I am. But whereas I feel like keeling over, he looks like he's still ready to take the catwalk by storm. Really, he just has the air of one of those men who think they own the world.
Hello there, sexy. Please don't stand up on my account. I already like what I see. Fancy a drink? It'll be on me.
He's married, right? But then again, I might be pleasantly surprised if he proves me wrong.
Want some between the sheets? Sex on the beach? I'm talking cocktails, of course.
Fat chance. But it doesn't matter. We both know how to play this game. And there are two different ways for the night to end. One thing or another is going to happen. The question is, what do I want to do?
Oh no, that's fine. I'd rather order some blue balls or some AMF if you don't mind.
He looks like he's about to say some witty retort, but stops himself and drowns the rest of his whiskey. I order a mint julep, he gets another whiskey, and we start the customary small talk. Of course, the saying, ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, goes without saying. We ask nothing about each other, offering up falsehoods to establish a strenuous, fake connection between two strangers at a pub, if only to pass the time. Whiskey, as I have come to call him, is supposedly 21 years old, single, takes care of a sick mother, and is a manager of some sort. Manager of what? I didn't care to listen to the details. Meanwhile, Mint, as he has come to call me, is 29, and I'm... What did I say I was again? Oh yeah, I told him I was a professional chocolate taster, because screw it, if I'm going to lie about what my job is, might as well make it fun. It's a pretty decent chat between two pretty drunk strangers. And maybe it's just me, but we might as freaking well expend the tiniest amount of effort in pretending there's something meaningful in this meeting. Would have been nice too if it's just left at that. But during a lull in the conversation, he brings it up.
You know, I've never been with a woman taller than me.
And to think he might have been different from the rest.
Never have and never will, whiskey. Can we go back to the history of chocolates? Did you know that chocolate candy was introduced in 19th century England as a healthier alternative to alcohol?
I did not, but that doesn't sound incorrect. It sounds like it could be true. St. Lucy was the most beautiful woman of her time. She had men come from the four corners of the world just to see the pure light of her exquisite green eyes. If she were so lucky, anyway.
No, enough of the history lesson. Come on, Mint. You know and I know what you came here for.
Though not every suitor was gallant, and she was no fool. She had known that sooner or later, she wouldn't be able to defend her chastity.
Come on. There must be something that gets you going.
So she had taken out a knife and gouged out her own eyes.
There is something, but I don't think you can handle it.
Impressed with her devotion, God restored her eyes and made them more beautiful than before. He has a peculiar sense of humor, doesn't he? Because that only meant suitors kept going after Lucy, and she kept her eyes in a chalice to scare them away.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I can handle whatever it is.
Saint Lucy, help me. Help me turn away from sin, or this doofus, whichever one comes first. Help me with my own blindness.
My place isn't too far from here. I won't take care of you if it ends up being too much for you. And no one will be able to hear you if you try to scream. You sure you want to go down that road, pretty boy?
Wouldn't have it any other way.
The best thing about having my condo so close to the pub is the ease of access. As long as I can stand and walk, I can make it home. Maybe I'd need help from a kind neighbor or two to help me with the last leg if I've really gone overboard with the alcohol. But I always make it home. Sometimes with company. Of course, that always comes with complications, especially with the real clingy ones. But it isn't anything a good tip about stalkers to the building security can't fix. I'm always nervous though, even if this isn't the first time I've done this. And the first few minutes when we enter my room are the first few agonizing minutes where I try not to panic. Okay, Mac, so far so good. Don't let him smell your fear under all that liquid courage. He'll leave sooner or later and I'll never have to see him again, just like every other man before him. Oh, little do you know, Marianne. I'd like to say that myself to the men I've brought to my place were more scared than I was. Yet there is no fear when I look into Whiskey's eyes, only delight. When he starts touching me, I don't even hesitate when I push him against the door. Roughness is to be expected. And as long as he sticks to the script, everything will go smoothly. We'll have our little tumble in the sheets. He'll leave. We'll forget about it. If somebody asked what I really wanted, I would have told them that I wanted a bed of roses, chocolates, and music, maybe in an Irish castle. But all I really want is her, and that's never going to be a reality. That was my fault, of course, because I was afraid. Because I was a coward. They would never hold a candle up to her. She was the light of my life. And I had let her go. I can't even be bothered at the thought of her. Just the single thought of her makes my resolve to see this affair through waver.
Wait.
What is it now?
Yes, what is it now? What's it going to be, Marianne? To sex or not to sex? Well, this guy's a doofus. Even if I hadn't played the game up to this point, I would know that. So,
We're both drunk.
And
This is wrong. Don't you think it's a bit fucked up that we're about to have sex and we're just calling each other by the drinks that we had? How messed up are we?
Doll, shut up with the ethics and morality talk. It is seriously putting me out of the mood.
good. You remember when she called him blue balls earlier? I remember.
If you want to leave now, Whiskey, I understand. I mean, with how smashed you are, it'd probably be best for you to sleep the night unless you want to be mugged. But I won't stop you. And this isn't going to happen.
Bloody hell.
Achievement unlocked. Cock blocked. Let's go. Of course he's annoyed at me for putting off our night of sexual congress. But no means no. And beyond spewing a few profanities under his breath, he surprisingly simmers down soon enough. I was worried for a moment that he might try and force something. Instead, he makes a show of fixing his suit and smoothing down his hair before making himself comfortable on the nearest seat he could find.
What are you doing then? You have a guest in your home. Put the damn kettle on. Dandelion tea if you have it. But I suppose all you have are those shitty tea bags from the store.
If it isn't for the absurdity of this turn of events, I would have flipped him off for thinking I have no taste. But in the end, I just laugh. All I got are cans of Korean ginseng and lemon balm, though. No dandelion. Without a second thought, I do wet the tea. That's 3 minutes to get the kettle to a boil. 3 minutes where we say nothing to each other. I mean, what do you even say to a guy I was going to sleep with until I changed my mind? I doubt he's in the mood to talk about the influences of Troy's on Mallory. It is still unusual by the time we're both seated on my bed with mugs of tea in hand.
Just so you know, whatever is going on right now is a lot stranger and fucked up than the one night stand.
We are two messed up individuals by your logic.
Everything is messed up, if you ask me. War, terrorism, famine, poverty, loved ones and loved lost. Oh, this whole world is a cesspool.
The dead air is telling me when it fills the room once more. One would think this is the perfect time to burst, to spill about whatever issues that made us the screwed up person that we are today. And it is. But I guess some part of me would rather not put the weight of my problems on somebody else's shoulder. It wouldn't be fair to leave that to a person when I don't even know if we'll ever even see each other again. Sooner rather than later, we both pass out of my bed, mugs left forgotten on the floor. When I wake, whiskey is already gone. A bottle of painkillers and a note on the table are the only evidence that I wasn't alone last night. Thanks for the tea, Marianne. He knows her name. Who frickin' rang? I don't even question where these are from or just how he knew my real name. I'm just grateful for something to help with the hangover. Might as well. I have a job to do. It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job, but after meeting with the Wrights yesterday, really makes me want to break my self-imposed rules. Because first off, freaking Whiskey was freaking Mr. Right! And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Ermengarde mansion yet when they hired me. Ermengarde. Well, what sort of person does that?
Rich people.
I could do nothing but twiddle my thumbs at this, however. Twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept other smaller projects. This is a big job, and I should be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this out. It was a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Ermengarde mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I'd have a headache whatever I do anyway. I'd go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in bed with another potential client. And it might be a huge leap in logic, but a library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus, I also need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Finding a new book or two to read for myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. So, on a Saturday morning, I find myself going to the only library in Luxbourne to hopefully cool off. After returning an Erzulie and a poetry book by Henry of Podebrady, I asked the librarian about several titles on my list, though I don't have much luck on that front. Dialogue with Death has already been snitched, and she bluntly said that she did not keep our mathematical universe for someone who didn't return books on time. I made headway at least when I asked about Siege and Rendition of Havana by Jacobo de Pezuela. If you count her snarling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any other except for myself and a redhead, though I'd wager a guess that Red's just passing by to get the classical literature section. So many books, so little time. Scanning the books and seeing so many wonderful titles gives me great pleasure. And that's when I spot it.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for, no. It's even better. The newly acquired History of Luxbourne Architecture. First edition, too. I know I just have to get it. I've been waiting to get my hands on the book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be a problem, though, when Red reaches out for it at the same time as I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
Oh, look who it is. I could only stare her down when she refuses to let go of the book. Refusing to let go of it as well, I raise a brow at her in the hopes that the fact that this was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. The fact that I was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
A beat. She blinks, and I can't help the smirk on my face, which is wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and the Irish Houses of Parliament.
Well, she did ask.
This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
This was not what I was expecting. Let's be honest, how many people would know those history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you? Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
Suddenly, it's a game where we throw those history questions and facts at each other, back and forth in hushed tones unless we want to be thrown out of the library. After a while, it goes from some strange competition into this strange but friendly banter, if it could be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning at how odd this whole scene is.
Marianne McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, the Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
By then, we had forgotten about our little tug-of-war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I had let go of it without realizing when she answered my first question.
History teacher, then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxburn Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
Ah, yes, St. Goretti. You'd think a school would choose a more appropriate saint to name themselves after, especially when they have very young students.
And I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said I was an architect, but there's no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure. But it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children. The hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
That sounds exciting.
That's kind of cute.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things. Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde mansion. Lucky me.
Ermengarde.
That mansion. Inta. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it. Now that is beautiful architecture.
A pause. It looks like she wants to say something at my mention of the house. I'm not surprised. The place is certainly popular with the locals, especially with the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, she seems to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. Maybe I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly iTabs when he built the Parthenon. I
iTab.
certainly don't need one to design a house.
The computer back at my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget that will just get outdated within the year when what I have is just as functional? The traditional ways had a far more personal touch in my opinion. Not to mention those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. I can't even count on one hand the number of people I see going outside, only to have their eyes glued to the things. And screw touchscreens. They're evil things that make typing, what should have been a simple task, harder.
I do have an online portfolio if you'd like. I can...
Speaking, or thinking of the devil, seems to have summoned it, because before I can even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile. From what I can assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before she stands up and excuses herself. Off farther into the aisle she goes for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well, trying to tune her out.
Belle, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far, I can be there in 10.
But with how quiet the surrounding is, she can't blame me if I overhear snippets of her conversation. When she returns with a sheepish look on her face, I know that our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment increases twofold when she realizes she's still holding on to history of Luxborn architecture. I don't give her time to think about it as I put a hand up and shake my head. Fishing out a pen and paper from my bag, along with one of my business cards, I hand them over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it. But you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
She makes quick work, penning her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course. You have a good day then.
You too.
With Rebecca gone, I'm left alone, standing in the history section. Although my original plans were simply to sit down and read a good book, our little pop quiz, if you could call it that, made the time pass by without any of us really realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch, however, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There are still other books to be read here, and I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work with the rights. Something like How to Deal with Arseholes Professionally 101, just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty, and rich clients before, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Because Luke Wright just takes the freaking cake, and he probably manages to eat it too. Seems like the world's conspiring to keep me from my time as my mobile vibrates in my pockets the moment I find something from the shelves of the classic literature section. Hi, Heretic, how are you doing?
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Oh, I hope that you get it soon, Heretic. I hope that you get it soon. My copy isn't here either, for what it's worth. Hopefully in the next week or two.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything. But I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they get through the process so fast? Surely there's so much red tape to even acquire the forms and the transferring of rights. No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick. Right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right. Cheers.
I don't know. I just don't. Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These things take time. It's been, what, a day? Less than that, even. There isn't even a point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be larger than life. As it looks like I'm on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I find a table to spend time with a copy of Marquis de Sade's The Crime of Life, since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. You know, I actually don't know. Hold on real quick. Let me see, because I'm interested. Let me go ahead and save. And go to settings. Language can only be changed on the main menu. Well, then let's go to the main menu. How do we do this? Well, I saved, so we're good. Nope, that's wrong. Let's go to options. It's not letting me... Oh, there we go. It doesn't look like... It doesn't look like there's an option for Japanese audio. It looks like the only audio option is English. Unless there's something here I'm missing. Yes, please skip the QTEs. However, you can choose your language. It looks like there's English, Japanese, and Japanese again. If there is Japanese voices, then I don't know where to find it. Sorry. Grabbing some fish and chips from... Okay, I've already read that. I've read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This will be the 18th time, in fact. But it's always nice to read through it again when I don't have the time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that they just end up plain filthy, you need the good old Marquis's sound advice.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
I understand French, and what she just said was, hit the follow button and be sure to buy a physical copy of this game from PlayAsia. That's exactly what she said in French. The wound being without any consequence. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence when everything actually does. Briar Realty Corporation's Luxborn branch isn't too far off from the city center, just a few blocks away, and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt there will be so much to do once we get hands-on with the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I am quite certain that in their haste to sell the property, they did a rush job. It isn't an infrequent thing to do despite how it is frowned upon. There will be a lot of hidden issues that I'll need to weed out, and I have to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structural integrity is definitely on top of the list we will have to consider. The building might look sturdy, but is centuries old. That alone will likely pose a few problems here and there, put limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, they can pay rather handsomely, as long as I do an excellent job to do more than necessary. Those two things always made sure the referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I go up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare when I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees should have been back already, if they still aren't filtering through the doors. I get that it's a Saturday, that people probably feel tired and lazy to be working on a weekend. But they're still on the clock and not bumming about, wasting company time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, as it is with these big corporations. Each person is given their little space of what's usually a 2x2 meter cubicle. There's a lot more empty chairs than there are actual people working at their desks. It reminds me far too much of my last day at Poroskova Projects during the massive layoffs due to the Irish economic crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is as quiet as a grave. It's as if these people are merely ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes in through the door looking as if she's just seen one. She looks at me wide-eyed like a deer caught in the headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I'd ask out of concern, but I feel it's not my position to do so. What if it's something personal? I'd simply be overstepping my boundaries. Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way towards her station and goes to fetch the floor plans. It won't take too long, as she said, but it does take a bit. Time spent to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of a smartphone when you're not working, and even when you should be working, playing those mindless, addictive games. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing that Batcat thingy during work hours, too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Checking out the floor plans, I see that I'll have a lot going for me. Now, I know how Ray felt when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from that one movie. Wow, that was hard to say. This is why I became an architect in the first place. Jacobean style at its finest. It's a thing of beauty. Look at these gorgeous rooms, the delicate harmony between empty spaces. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger. Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem, and it is an old house.
There had been little details here and there that I would like to address during the open house too. But it was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos' incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think what sorts of repairs they did to the place. There might have been things that were swept under the rug, pushed to the dark corner of the rooms, and hidden away in barrels. Water damage could have been covered up. There have been floods due to heavy rains in West England just last year, after all. And if there's any sort of damage to the house's foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I knew, a whole family of vermin could have had their nests up there. Working with pest control is always the worst. The sheer size of this place is staggering, even if I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I could chew, but who doesn't like a good challenge? First things first, I'll have to...
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance with being distracted. Seeing the girl, the young woman though, it looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? Let's be nice. I give her time to speak up. But when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such questions from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt, then, why she was assigned to an important sale like the Ermagerd Mansion despite the little accident she had. Now, she just looks too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. Why, watching her now, she actually looks like she could still be in college. Acts a bit like it, too, when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out at the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents dealing with the property. I don't even know what to make of that whole meltdown that happened with that strange document. If I were the client, I would have been very upset. She'd be in hot water for it.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Ah, that's cruel. Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek, and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. And it makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it is understandable if her reason's what I think it is. Very few people make it big in the art world. I could see why she'd be upset about it with that enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took in the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being at art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place. And the sooner she accepts it, the better. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh.
I've been playing for an hour already? Are you kidding? Really? I just glanced over at the clock and suddenly an hour's gone by. When did that happen?
I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not? Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid.
Achievement unlocked. Grow up, kid.
Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
Ugh, sorry about yawning, guys. Just really, really long. I'm just so overwhelmed with things in real life. Sorry, I'll try and not yawn so much.
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave as she has said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It's clear that there's more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself and her choices in life. Or is she expecting me to dish out more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the realty office as quick as I can. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times, does not mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realized it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday, no fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest of the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm safe from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it came to the condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks just to secure a key card. Not only because of building management, but because of the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime, and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil. The elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting. But I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon.
Freaking Johans, what a stupid name for a stupid butler.
I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes. Or even 10. I sit in their living room, just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food, or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was. Although I'm not normally this nosy. What should I do then? We continue waiting! We have made our decision. This is our choice. This is my seat and I shall sit in my seat. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else, after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are for allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't give two craps about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping about and be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off to investigate whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm just going to sit here and wait for Mrs. Wright with my tea in complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera, the LBC News would be fine. The William Walker Show is on too, if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does.
That sounds gay.
The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics, and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then.
We know exactly what's going to happen here, don't we? She's going to flip on the television, and we're going to see.
Thank you. I'll
Demon
let you
Girl.
get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the crash a while ago then? Whatever. Fetching the remote, I turn the TV on in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to anyway, because the thing won't turn on. And doesn't that make the silence more awkward, or what? I know I might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I could work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
Well, she didn't turn it on. There's blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. And though there's nothing straining my skin, I could feel the sticky and warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft lips with skin so fair, and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck, and to run my fingers through her hair. She laughs and she smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant, and I recoil, horrified at this reflection I'm seeing, only to back into something, or rather, someone. Mrs. Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips, and a hand on her hip. I almost back away, but I ground myself and remind myself that this is my client. And whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say perhaps I'm going a bit daft. It would be preferable, of course, to think that it was all a trick of the light or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day.
It is. I am a big fan of big breakfasts.
Johans is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
Looking down at my hands, I can see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks so much like her, I'm becoming a damn train wreck. I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Mrs. Wright at the mansion. With so many blondes in the world, what was different with her? What was different this time? I'm starting to go mad. I am. But there is work to be done, and the clock isn't going to stop ticking while I go about having a breakdown. I should go to the loo, splash water on my face, and snap out of it. At least until the end of the day, if I can just last that long.
I think I just need to excuse myself for a minute, if that's all right.
She places a hand on my arm, gentle as can be.
What? No. What if you suddenly fall over or faint while you're all alone? You can just sit down right here and I'll go get you a glass of water.
Or would you like some beer? That's how you are nowadays now. Drowning everything in booze.
No, I don't want anything to drink. Just...
I must have said that forcefully, judging by the look on Mrs. Wright's face. But why does she care? It's not like we're friends. This is business. I'm either well enough to conduct it or not. Why would she pretend to be concerned when I am simply a means to an end? Just seeing Mrs. Wright reminds me too much of her. And maybe I'm starting to see and hear her again when I shouldn't be. I've tried so hard to leave everything behind, to forget them and move on. But that small touch and her voice in my head have nearly set me off the edge. And in an instant, all of her memories come flooding back in.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you like that. Just give me some breathing room, please. Just, please, give me a moment.
She doesn't respond, and just before the situation gets any more complicated, Mr. Wright comes in.
Good morning, ladies. What a wonderful morning it is, that I wake up to such a beautiful sight.
Ah, idiot head.
I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With his saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think you are a bit of a pig, Whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
The only styles she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Hit the A button too fast there, sorry. Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
There's no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrup, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. Oh man, that looks good. Oh man, that looks good. I feel like I'm going to be going to Denny's after this. Man, that looks really good, guys. Oh man. Oh man. You know what? I'm going to take a picture of that and send it to my wife. She would love that too. Oh man. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables.
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs, and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, oh, as well as the old owners.
Who were the old owners? I don't know if it's ever been mentioned.
Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgates Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blended with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past do not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
Okay, that was actually funny.
I love fashion. But do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room? Right there, in the northeast corner.
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxspawn to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
I see there's a theater over there. It's probably not very easy to tell on stream, but it is on the far picture over there. It's on the top, second from the right. It's a theater. How about that?
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too, and I'd dance, and it was just...
That actually she sounds so happy reminiscing about this. Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Well... we should compromise. I really wish they didn't look at me like that. This is their decision to make. But if they want to ask for a professional's point of view, I'll be happy to give my 2 cents.
You can still have a garage.
See, Marianne agrees with me. Thank you.
But the structural integrity of the mansion might be at risk if we try to turn the dining hall or any of the rooms into a garage. Taking down one of the exterior walls might hit one of the support beams. And with a mansion that old, I'd rather not risk it.
I suppose that's better than nothing. Better than flat out saying no.
Mrs. Wright does have a point. There's plenty of space for a garage outside of the mansion itself. If you'd like a covered parking space, we can arrange something on the grounds instead.
Then we better go there. I want to see where we can build a garage.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Riding to the Ermengarde mansion is their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other any time. Nobody is saying anything, up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment I think that he might start. But instead he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I've never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I could finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
Alright, Johans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
46 acres of land? Oh, good God, that's so big.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating.
He's going to be there all day.
Go, mush.
Someday I'd like to ask how Johans can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least I'll only be working with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday, I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage, nor wear and tear, probably re-threaded during renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand. Again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there is a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone were to see them like this, there's little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course, and I want a garden full of them. Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. So I'd like to think they may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils least of all. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't know. I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both firm and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with Whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I could do it later, when he's gone. I go upstairs first, if I want to. Which floor should I do first? I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know it's just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well just go upstairs first. And that's where I'm going to save and continue next Sunday. So that was the continuation of The Letter. Remember, if you want to own this game physically, orders have begun shipping out. So head over to PlayAsia, place your order right now while you can, and it should be on your doorstep within the next week or two. I will be back on Tuesday to play something else, and I will be continuing this game, The Letter, next Sunday. I'm gonna listen to the stream after I'm done to see how this new microphone goes. And yeah, otherwise that'll do it. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. Thank you everyone for watching. On behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.